So if my absolutely amazing costume didn't show you already, I'm a ghost. And the player that is nicknamed the Ghost is, a lot of people outside of the Indy area probably actually don't know this, but it's T.Y. Hilton. He got the nickname because when he came out of college, he wasn't like this, he wasn't the fastest on the field. He didn't have the best hands. He wasn't the biggest, but they said he was still so good at running routes and just hiding from coverages. So they said he would disappear on the football field and then reappear with a 70-yard touchdown. So he got the nickname the Ghost, and so I wanted a reason to make a video about him, so I, bought a sheet at Target and cut eye holes in it because, yeah. Again, kind of as I've been doing in a lot of my videos for most of these players, I try to give a little, refresher for those of you who don't watch football as religiously as I do, because I get it. It's still an interesting topic, even if you don't know a lot about him, but again, not everyone's going to know as much as I do because he's one of my favorite players ever. Anyways, so T.Y. Hilton has been, in my opinion, and it's pretty hard to dispute that he's been one of the best receivers of the 2010s. His production, especially for being a guy who wasn't really necessarily even drafted to be the guy anywhere, is pretty unbelievable. I mean, he was drafted out of FIU, which is Florida International University, so a super small college, and the Colts basically drafted him and put him on specialist because they just were weren't looking to bolster wide receiver as much as they were looking to find, this it factor guy. I can return kicks, I'm good in the slot, I'm fast, and so that's why they drafted T.Y. And despite being a kick returner and punt returner primarily, he still had 800 yards receiving that year. The first 8 years of his career, from 2012 on, he had 8,600 yards. I mean, he averaged 1,000 yards a season, which is pretty good for a guy who's 5'9" and was seen as a specialist early on in his career. He even goes on to lead the league in 2016 with 1,500 yards. I mean, he basically exceeded every expectation I think anyone had for him, and he's just been sort of this moniker of consistency, I'm going to get 1,100 yards every season no matter what, and he didn't miss games early in his career. However, unfortunately, despite, like I said, not missing games because of injury, the injury bug caught up with him, and he missed 6 games last year. And even when he played, he just looked off, like he was playing through it. He hasn't been, the T.Y. Colts fans know and love. I mean, and a lot of people are upset because they drafted him as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy because he's historically puts up those numbers. But this year he's been not even really a flex. I mean, he's just kind of been pretty bad. And I mean, people thought he was going to kill it. In the training camp, literally all they talked about was how well T.Y. and Rivers were getting along. But in games, it's literally been the opposite. It's not been at all what they expected. His yards per game is only 40, which is the lowest in his career. He only averages 3.3 catches per game, which is the lowest in his career. And he has the 3rd lowest catch rate of his career. Why is his production dropped this much if he was supposed to be primed for a huge year as a veteran receiver? I think, again, this is just my opinion, but I think it's because of the way Rivers plays. Rivers has always liked big play, deep threat, tall receivers. Okay? Look at Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, both above 6'1", both known for 50-50 balls. Antonio Gates, tight end, this big guy, loved to catch 50-50 balls. Phil loves to just throw up the ball to these big targets and let them make a play. I mean, and I think the Colts showed a further development of that by drafting Michael Pittman. He's 6'3". And Marcus Johnson, who's been the Colts' best player over the last few weeks, is a 6'1" receiver. And T.Y.'s 5'9". That's quite a big difference in player. And I think that's a big reason, for his dip in production. And not to mention, his favorite tight end through the first few weeks was Mo Alley-Cox, who's 6'5". Again, it's just showing Phil has a type. Philip Rivers likes to throw to these big receivers. And so this 5'9" speedster who's made a career off of, just catching the ball reliably and being this good value he's disappearing. I mean, he's a ghost for a completely different reason right now. I also don't think it's helped that he's been dropping more balls than usual, and I think a little bit of that is the mental side of the injury he had. Like I said, he'd never been injured in his career. So to come off an injury and play through it, and then his numbers dipped last year because he was playing through an injury. He was playing hurt. But again, maybe he's not distinguishing that to himself, so he thinks this is all just because, he's playing bad this year. I don't think it's because he is. I think he's been open plenty of times, but it's been miscommunications and drops and overthrows that have really hurt him. And I just hate that he's coming off his worst year and he's playing bad. I just was really hoping he'd have a bounce back year. And I want to say, last week was the first week I think he really had a vintage T.Y. game. He had 4 catches for over 80 yards and a touchdown. But guess what? 3 of those catches got called back for 69 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, come on. And it wasn't even his fault. It wasn't push-offs or anything. It was holdings. You can't fault the guy for that. I mean, that's just stupid. That is just unlucky. And so, like I said, I was expecting him to bounce back, and he finally had a week where he did, and now it got taken away from him. So, again, I think even some of it's been out of his control. Like I said, the change of quarterback changes the play style of the quarterback, the change of the offensive game plan. I just think it really is a perfect storm that has caused him to have a dip in production between Phillip Rivers, the injury bug, and his worst year ever. Even though T.Y. has disappeared, the ghost has disappeared, but I think he's bouncing back against the Lions this week. I put him in fantasy, so you have my word that I think he's going to go bad, and if he doesn't, you can hound me about it. But I think this is going to be a big week for him. I'm predicting around 6 catches and 100 yards. He really looked to be more of a part of Phillip's game plan last week, so I think they're going to stick with that, especially because it's the best the passing game has looked for the Colts basically this year. I love T.Y. He's literally one of my favorite players of all time. I grew up watching him. He was the best player on the Colts back when I started watching football. I love T.Y., and I really hope this isn't how he leaves the Colts on this season. So I'm hoping he bounces back, and I really think he will. Almost broke the immersion there for a second. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. What do you think about T.Y.? Why do you think his production's dipped? Obviously, I said what I do, but feel free to leave in the comments. I'd love to see your guys' opinions on it. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.